Looking for cost-effective advertising? Find what you need fast on 456list.com. Buy, sell, promote your business or service. Expand your growth and sales. Help customers find you, national or local. Every business is special on 456list.com. Reach the virtual online community now. Visit 456list.com today.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Talk Business with Audrey. I'm here today with my guest, with Dr. Eloisa Clementon. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
She is the president and CEO of Invest Atlanta, and she's going to be talking to us today about how to do business with Atlanta.
My pleasure.
So now I know you have some really, really great opportunities in Atlanta. The film industry is booming. You got opportunity zones. Tell us a little bit about what opportunity zones are.
Well, there's a lot of different type of programs and initiatives that we have specifically to try to attract and support business growth. Opportunity zones are one of those. An opportunity zone says pretty much when your company starts in one of these opportunity zones, you only have to create 2 jobs to get the tax benefit of $3,500 per employee up to 5 years. And so that would result in a $17.5 thousand saving per employee for that time period. So it's a very aggressive way that we're able to attract all size of companies.
So now with small businesses, when I say small, I mean more like micro businesses. Would that type of benefit also benefit a small micro business with 2 employees?
Yeah. I would say definitely it does, because oftentimes the tax benefit is on the revenue that's made, but often I've heard some startups say, well, Louisa, I'm not revenue positive yet. But every business pays employee withholding tax, so you can apply it to both of those. So it is something that even a startup can take advantage of.
Now, I know that you have some big companies coming in, like Mercedes-Benz is coming in. I heard Porsche's coming in. What are you guys doing to bring those huge companies here?
Well, there's a couple things I think that's really impacting it. First is if you look at the quality of life here in Atlanta, it's very competitive. The cost of doing business is also lower than you'll see some of our competitive cities. But for the quality of life, people can actually buy a home and afford to live there, right? Is an important aspect. And you have all the cultural amenities, you have the art amenities, you could go to your favorite sports team, you can go opera, you could ballet, you can almost do anything you want to in the city of Atlanta. But what they're also looking for, which is key and unique to Atlanta, is the workforce. We have a very talented workforce. We have a very high number of graduates, so over 275,000 graduates in the region. So if you think about the business, they're often thinking about, I'm concerned about my pipeline, who's going to come in next? And so they need access to that type of student to take those positions. And so that's really driving the interest specifically to a lot of big companies. And then what you'll see is that they're just very excited about the connectivity. Atlanta, before it was officially named Atlanta, was Terminus, because it was a place where all the rail lines would meet. And so not only now do we have that connectivity and continue to have that connectivity in terms of rail capacity, but we also have it with our airport. Our airport is the busiest airport on the planet, like my mayor likes to say. We've hit over 100 million passengers last year. And so that connectivity, where if you talk about a CEO's quality of life, the fact that they could wake up in the morning, get up, go to fly to New York, fly wherever they need to, come back at night and have dinner with their family means a lot, because it's a direct flight in. You could reach 80% of this nation in less than 2 hours. And so it's that connectivity. So not only do you have it in rail, you have it on road, and you have it in the air. And that's what businesses are looking for. So it's talent, accessibility, technology, a strong workforce, quality of life, the educational system. These are things that are attracting companies like we've never seen before. In fact, our pipeline is one of the strongest that we've ever had. So we could say probably within the last 20 years, here in Atlanta, we created over 10,000, created, touched, facilitated, somehow influenced over 10,000 jobs for the city of Atlanta. If you look at what that means in terms of impact, in the MSA, the greater region, there were 80,000 jobs created. We touched only 10 within the 133 square miles of what Atlanta is.
Wow.
So what we're seeing is our impact is very large and our attraction to the city.
Wow.
And to your last point, if I may, is what we're seeing is that there is an interest by this talent, the next generation, to be in urban centers. If you look nationally and internationally, people are coming back into the city and city core. And so that also is strengthening Atlanta and our ability to attract these big companies.
Okay.
And I'll just close by saying, and you have one of the most aggressive mayors that I have ever seen and had the pleasure to work for. So he is actually seeking those companies out, saying if you are going to expand or you're looking for a place to grow your business, Atlanta's the place for you.
You know, I saw an article last year where he was in Silicon Valley. So touch a little bit on the tech industry here.
So we are growing, if you look at our cluster growth, very much so within technology. And I think that really drives to several things. One, you have a base of research and development that's happening here, driven by what we're seeing as our university institutions. So Morehouse and Georgia Tech are really pushing that next phase. Emory is also Georgia State, really driving this innovation and thinking out of the box. And so that is driving and supporting what we're seeing a growth in our technology clusters, which is health information technology and finance technology. I've heard anywhere from 75 to 80% of all credit card transactions in the world pass through Atlanta.
Really?
Yep. Every time you swipe that card, and it's because of the concentration of those companies here. So we have now developed a niche, and what that does is makes us very competitive and attract more companies because they want to leverage. They want to leverage the employee base, the knowledge base, and the expertise that they can find here.
Wow. So what you're saying is a lot of the merchant companies are here.
That's exactly right.
Processing. Wow. So that must bring in a lot of revenue to the city and to other small businesses that have opportunity to work with these guys.
That's exactly right. So what we do is we focus on, our strategy is not only do we want to focus on the big companies, but we also want to focus on the smaller companies so that it's balanced, so that we can work with the big company because they're going to bring a lot of the jobs, but then we're looking, okay, what are the horizontal and vertical clusters that are going to support that company and its success? And how do we bring those along? And so we do both. We do a strategy that looks at both types of companies because they're all going to create jobs. And we know the majority of jobs are coming from startups and they're coming from small businesses. In fact, I ran the numbers. If you look at the data from 2010 to 2013, 33% of all jobs created were created by companies that were only 0 to 1 year old. So we're really talking startups. 33%. That's a huge number. So that is why it's our focus on what are we doing to support the business environment and make sure that all businesses are as successful as possible. So we really look at, okay, if I'm a company and I come into a community, I need to make sure I know who I can connect with. If I need financing, where do I go? If I need a business plan, what do I do? The quicker I can help you be successful in finding your resources, one, the more likely you are to stay. And two, I increase your opportunity or chances for success. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right. Now, this is a really progressive team of people here because a lot of times you don't get that kind of hands-on, hey, let me help you kind of thing. So how has that benefited the small businesses that are working with you guys as far as their success rate?
So we've done a couple things. One, we have a great team, and so we have different financial tools. So I always like to think of them as like a toolbox. My dad was a handyman, and luckily my husband is too. So besides having them do all the chores, it's like you grab a hammer sometimes, you grab a screwdriver sometimes, you're going to do the power saw sometimes. And that's what we try to figure out is how strategically do we have a suite of services that we can offer. So we could do small business loans. So if you are currently a City of Atlanta business, you can apply for some of our small business loans. Now, we say we're not in it to take the place of a bank. So our niche is, let's say the bank says to you, I can loan you $50,000. but you really need 80,000 for your business. We'll come in and take a second position and give you that gap funding of $30,000. Yes, because we know that's where the need is. Because we're trying to get you over to that next space. So we not only have the small business loan, we also have our retention program. We'll go out and talk to you and say, what other services do you need? Some of those I don't do in-house, but I'm going to connect you. Who else can help you and support what your needs are in particular?
Your program sounds like it could be a model for other municipalities and towns around the world. Is it a model for that?
You know, I'm obviously a little biased, but I will have told you, I worked in California, I've worked in DC, I've worked in Sacramento. There's not that many entities that really have this broad spectrum. So we not only have the attraction piece in-house and the retention, we have the housing component. So we can, let's say you want to come to the city of Atlanta, we have a first-time home buyer down payment assistance program. We'll even help you get into your house.
Wow.
And as long as you stay in your house 5 years, that money becomes a grant to you. So we'll help you with your business. We'll help you find a home. And then we look at this, our other department, it looks at really key commercial corridors, specific parts of the city, and how do we pay attention to those specific parts? Some parts of the city need a little more attention and focus, and that's what that team does. So it's through that broad spectrum that allows us different tools to be able to ultimately help the business grow. And our end goal at the end is if you are successful as a business, what do? You invest more in your business and you hire more people.
That's right.
That's my goal.
That's right.
So if I help you be successful, then as a city, we all benefit.
That is true. That is true. Now you kind of touched on grants. Let me just back up a minute. Now a lot of companies are always looking to find out if there are grants available. And I'm from Jersey. If you say there are grants available, no, not unless you're a nonprofit. Are there grants available for startups and small businesses, or do they have to go for the loans?
I'd say for the typical small business, really our tool will be the loans, the loans that we've done. And this year we did, I should say for 2015, we did over 20 loans specifically to small businesses. But there are other grants, I should say, for a business. So if you look at our efforts on this redevelopment side where we're looking at key corridors in certain parts of the city, there are grants that we have. Now, our money is regulated by the federal government. It has a lot of stipulations on what it is, but to help your small business understand what you could use is, let's say as a business you want to improve the facade of your business, right? Because your business needs to look nice so it can attract people to the location. We can help you with your facade improvement program. So really when it gets tied to brick and mortar is where those grant dollars fall in, and only if you're in specific areas. So if you are in specifically, let's say to the city of Atlanta, there are very few grants in Buckhead. Have you been to Buckhead? Buckhead's a beautiful place. It's just wonderful. I'm not really quite sure I need to focus in that area. Buckhead's going to be great as it will continue to be. There are other parts of the city where we need to focus a little more, where maybe the risk is a little bit higher. So how do we help minimize the risk? Because I understand as a business, you guys are very risk averse. You want to make sure you're doing your financial analysis. You know exactly what you're getting into. We can appreciate that. So we'll take that into sense, and if we focus in this area, if we brought a grant to the table, does that change your financial modeling to now say, I think I'll open a business there? And so those are really strategically what we're trying to do.
Okay. So grant money is available, but you know what you need to use it for. Now, one of my favorite industries is film. And I know that Atlanta is hot right now. I talk to people all the time. I was talking to someone last night who said, hey, listen, I heard I should be in Atlanta. And I was like, yeah, you should be. Talk to me. And I know they shoot a lot of shows. So even in Lawrenceville, I was driving down the street one day and they had a whole camera team set up. And I hollered out the window, what are you shooting? And they said Sleepy Hollow. I was like, yay. So tell me a little bit how that got to be where it is right now and where is it going in the future? Because I know some really major studios are coming in the area.
Well, Georgia made a very strategic decision, and that was to offer film tax credits. And that film tax credit has really changed the landscape of where people decide to film. So just like a business, they're going to do their financial modeling. So with that aggressive tax credit, now it's making a lot of financial sense to come and film here. So, in fact, that industry represents for us over $6 billion last year. So it is growing. We are really in the top 5 of filming locations in the nation. So what we've done is now leverage that. What businesses support a film. So it's from catering to carpentry to, you know, chauffeur service, hotel service, and that has supported other industries. So again, vertical and horizontal impact of a very key important cluster to the Atlanta region. And so we are now aligning in our workforce development. How do we train people to work on the set? What does that mean to be on the set? But not only is the film tax credit important, but we are a right to work state. That makes a difference. Our quality of life makes a difference. You know, you still have actors. I mean, you could have the best film tax credit, but if it's in like Saharan, you know, desert location, I'm not sure some of these actors really want that kind of environment. They still want to have the quality of life and entertainment and great food and all of that you can get here in this great city.
So I know there are a lot of independent filmmakers here, and I know those tax credits are for filmmakers. Can they apply for the independent filmmaker with small budgets? I know there's like some kind of budget requirements or something.
For the exact specifics, I mean, I would have to get that for you. I don't have the baseline, but I do know that they're looking at widening perhaps that tax credit for the state because they've seen what an economic impact it has been in growing jobs and investment. And we are just thinking about the broader impact. Again, the hotel industry, the food industry, and how that has all supported that cluster.
Right. Okay. So now this show is in 52 countries around the world. Okay. And I know you have some foreign investors who are looking to come into the United States and hopefully into Georgia. What can they do to make that a simple transition into Georgia, into Atlanta, to do business with us?
There's several things that come to mind. First, I'd like to mention that Atlanta, after what is probably New York and Los Angeles, has one of the highest number of consulate representations. So we have over 68 representative countries represented here in some sort of way, if it's a consular office or a representative. Okay. I think that's important because that means you have someone you can come to that speaks your language, understands your way of life, that this can really help connect you. So that's the connectivity. The second thing is we have what the mayor's commitment is to a welcoming city. Okay. We recognize the impact of foreign companies to our city. There are over 2,250 foreign companies in the region that employ over 110,000 employees. Okay. So, but the mayor recognizes that we have to be open and welcome to all type of people. They're very entrepreneurial. They're making a huge impact in terms of investment and jobs. So how do we continue to support that? And that office is really focused at, are we making sure that our how to do businesses in multiple languages? Are we making sure that we're cultural sensitive? And so it's that dedication that I would say anyone who's thinking about coming, Atlanta is open and welcome you, and we want you here and we want you to be successful. So I'll start with that. Once you decide that you're here, then you can apply for some of our programs. You can apply for our small business loan fund. You can apply for some of our assistance, and we will connect you as well. So I want them to be clear that Atlanta is very open, very welcoming. Okay. And so much so that the mayor has invested time and energy and people and budget to this program.
Okay. Now, you said something pretty interesting. So you have all these consulates and foreign entities here. Is there a way for people here to work with those guys to do business outside of the country?
Well, that's exactly right. So that's two things. We would not only like to see companies look to Atlanta to grow their international business, because that brings for us a direct impact in terms of foreign direct investment, meaning they're bringing their new dollars into our economy, which helps grow our local economy. But we've also strategized that the way we can help a business is for them to grow. Okay. And they can either grow by finding more customers locally, which we're trying to help them do, but they can also grow by finding more customers internationally. And these offices can potentially help you. They'll put you in connections to also increase the opportunity for investment abroad. So it does happen reciprocal.
I have to say I had the opportunity to work with the Canadian consulate, and it was very helpful in helping me to do this show outside of the country, and also possibly work with people inside of Vancouver and those areas in filming and television. So that is true. I spent about 3 hours there talking to them. They were really wonderful, and so it is helping. So that's a great thing too.
And I have to say that there is also very much a recognition, not only from the city of Atlanta's mayor, Mayor Reed, but also from other mayors about how do we engage? And so they'll take international trips. The governor is very aggressive on that as well. And so we're out there visiting these countries so people know that we're interested in them investing in our country and growing our companies to invest in their countries. So I would offer for any of your listeners is if they're interested in joining one of these trade missions when they're announced, that it gives you the opportunity to open up more connections.
Okay.
So
now, when is your next trade mission?
So our trade missions are handled by the International Trade Office through the Mayor's office, Claire. And you could go to the Mayor's International Trade Office. It has a list of when they are. We will be going to Finovate probably in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
And then there's some thoughts about going to other trade missions. I've been on a few with the mayor, and it's just a great opportunity.
Okay.
Some countries, I recognize it does matter if you're going with the government representative because it gives you sort of validity. They don't know who you are. You're new to the market. We can help with connections. Other markets, perhaps not so much, but you as a business owner need to determine what makes sense for you.
Okay. So we have a question. What are some of the requirements to obtain financial assistance?
So if you want financial assistance in terms of if you're interested in a small business loan, which is one of our programs, I would say go to our website, you download the application, and then you fill it out, and pretty much we'll do a financial analysis. I will say, and I said at the beginning, we are not the banks. We're not going to take the place of the banks. But with that said, we make great loans, but we are going to take a little extra time. So let me give you an example. So let's say your credit's pretty stable, and all of a sudden 1 year it goes sharp decrease, and then you get it back up. So we'll ask you, and we'll say, what happened? And oftentimes we figured out that life just happens, right? You God forbid, but you get a divorce, or someone gets sick in the family. Also, just times that put a lot of pressure financially on the family. We'll take that into consideration and still give good loans, but recognize that just life happens sometimes. Where some banks, if you have that situation, say no without even looking at your credit score or your history. So we'll take on a little bit more of the risk.
Do the person need to go to the bank first and let you pick up the gap, or can they come direct to you first?
They could do both.
Okay.
They can do both.
Okay. So listen now, if you need a small business loan, go to the website, download the necessary paperwork, and that way you'll know what you have to do. But you can go there, there.
And
now,
I would just add that it's very good terms. We're like 2% above prime, and we'll work with you. Again, my goal is to make you successful, because as you grow your business and you're successful, you continue to invest, you continue to hire employees, and that's what I want.
Now let me ask you this. Are those loans for any type of business, or are they for specific type of businesses?
Any type of business. The only requirement we ask is that your business be in the city of Atlanta. You as the owner do not need to live in the city, although we'd love for you to live in the city, but as long as your business is in the city, you can apply for those. What I would say is for any of your listeners who don't work in the city or don't have their business in the city, oftentimes other cities in the region will have similar programs. So make sure you follow up with those economic developers as well. I know here in Gwinnett, you have Nick Messina, who's very aggressive as well, trying to help support businesses. And you could touch base with him too on what he can offer for you.
Okay, all right. Now I know you have this program called the Women's Entrepreneur Initiative.
Yes.
Tell us what that is.
You know, it's really exciting this morning. As I was telling you before, the mayor did the State of the City this morning, and he announced the very first class of women entrepreneurs. And what that will be is that they'll go through a 12-month program. They're going to receive free services, free consulting, and free space at the Flatiron Building for up to a year. And the whole point of that is what I've come to really appreciate and admire about the mayor is he recognized that as a woman entrepreneur, sometimes there's a little more obstacles that aren't necessarily the same as men. For example, if you work out of your house, you pretty much can't tell your client or your customer, come to my house. They may get the wrong impression, right? Where if it was a man, the same thing wouldn't happen. So the mayor was very sensitive to that and said, I am dedicated to finding ways to provide an opportunity for women to be successful. He wants everyone to be successful, but recognizes some of these particular challenges and put the first class together. So, but what I would say is don't think for any of our women entrepreneurs that are listening that they've missed this opportunity. It's a 12-month program. This is the first class. So watch that next cycle because our goal, and I know I'm repeating this, is we want you to be successful in this city. The more you invest, the more you contribute to the city and the more employees you hire.
This city, I must say, is a great city. I love Atlanta. I was born in Georgia, raised in New Jersey, but I knew I always wanted to come back. And I'm so excited to be a part of what's happening right now with all the growth and all the great opportunities coming available. Now, I know that you guys do a lot of stuff in all these different areas. What are some of the opportunities that you are not seeing that entrepreneurs can bring in? Like, is there any specific business that you would like to see come to Atlanta that's not there, or any service that could come to Atlanta that's not there? I know it's a lot.
I'll say that everything's here and it's all wonderful. But I will say that there are opportunities.
Okay.
And the reason there are opportunities is we continue to have startups. The thing that makes us uniquely different from Silicon Valley, and I talked to Paul Judge, who's a prominent entrepreneur in Atlanta, and I actually heard him say this over and over. So Paul, I've stole this from you, is that here in Atlanta, we have over 13 Fortune 500 companies in the region.
Okay.
Real companies have real, not problems. No one has a problem. Everybody has an opportunity. And those opportunities mean that startups or entrepreneurs can help solve those opportunities for these big companies. So if you can find a revenue stream, you can begin to launch your company. And so what I would say is that the opportunities are to understand and access those Fortune 500s and the 1000s that are here and understand their pain points, try to solve them, and you will have an instant customer.
Okay.
And that's, I think, something that not necessarily you have in Silicon Valley. You have a lot of investors, you have a lot of startups, there's a lot of momentum. There's not that many big clients out there. So they're moving to other places looking for their clients. So that's obviously in my opinion, but I really think that's our niche. That's what Atlanta has so special. That's what's attracting these startups.
Okay.
I would also say for our technology entrepreneurs that are out there is that really thinking about what makes us competitive in the 21st century. And it's this concept of, and I'm not really quite sure what it is, but it has to be cars talking to cars, cars talking to buildings, buildings talking to buildings, leveraging the traffic signals, leveraging the city's broadband infrastructure underneath, connecting them in some sort of way so that we become the most smartest, the most smartest city ever, where literally I could see us, I envision in Atlanta where you drive up and all of a sudden I get a message, welcome to Tech Square, welcome to the Flatiron, welcome to City Hall.
Nice.
Did you know this building behind you was built in 1860 and Martin Luther King walked in the street? Would you like more information? No, not today, I'm busy. Or yes, tell me more. And did you know there's a restaurant behind you? And welcome to the city. I see you're new to our city. This is great. So all of a sudden now you're walking, the building is talking to you, the car is talking to you. I know where to park. I can make a reservation on park. Oh, guess what? I'm going to a Falcons game today and I need parking. Can I reserve my parking? Or maybe you say I want to connect. So I'll park here and then there's an autonomous vehicle that's going to drive you into the game. Stress-free. That is the next big thing that we are thinking about. The mayor's pushing us to think about how do we compete. You know, so cool. There are 13,000. The last time I looked, the number may have changed, but 13,928 cities in the nation. And we all want the same thing. We want the company to start here, and we want you to invest here, and we want to grow jobs. How do I distinguish myself among those others and make Atlanta the city that I know it is, which is going to continue to attract more entrepreneurs and continue to grow?
Wow. Well, I know some tech geniuses listening to that, and they're saying, hey, let's make that happen. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. So how can people get in contact with you or your team to figure out how they can do business? Do we have any more questions? No more questions. How can people get in touch with you or your team to find out how they can come in and do business with you, sit down with you, talk to you, and just make things happen?
The best thing is always just reach out to us. You could either go through our website, and if you go on our website, you have all of the team's email addresses on there. Make sure you can contact everyone.
Okay.
I will sit down to my assistants, sometimes frustration with everyone. You just never know where the best next idea is coming from. And ultimately, that's my job. My job is to serve every resident who wants to be successful in our city. And so I'll sit down with you, or I'll have someone from the team sit down and just talk about what it is you need. Oftentimes, every business is different. Every tool we use sometimes is a little different. So we need to understand where you're coming from and understand at what point we engage. This tool, I would love to say I have a tool for every problem, every situation, all the time.
Right.
I don't. But what I tell people is, look, I may not be able to help you now, but once you get to this point, come check out. I may have this tool may help. Or once you grow and you're looking for a place to go, come see me. I may have a grant available in this part of town. If that part of town works for you, maybe that's an option for you. And we'll kind of walk through about when we plug in, because we plug in at different times depending on your growth cycle and where you are in your business.
I got to tell you, I was my uncle was sick, and he was at one of the facilities in Atlanta over the summer, and I happened to be driving down Ponce de Leon Avenue, I think it was. I love the Ponce market over there. What kind of opportunities are there? It's so eclectic and
yeah.
nice.
Ponce City is one of those projects where, again, this mayor had the vision to put that project back out with the development community. Jamestown has done a fabulous job on that redevelopment. It used to cost the city $1 million a year to mothball that building.
Wow.
To make sure there were, it was safe, no one was getting in there, the, animals, all that. So what he saw was that is an opportunity to bring a property to higher and better use. And we nailed it. If that's one thing I can say is that's been from the Jamestown has invested and had the vision. We were able to attract companies to that site. So we were able to attract Athena Health there when Jeb Bush came in. We were able to take him along the Beltline, and he was able to bike in. I actually didn't know, but there are Beltline valets. The biggest the bicycle valets. The biggest bicycle valet is at Ponce. In fact, it is growing so much that they have to expand the number of bikes that they have. Now, I got my first bike, I think, from Kmart. Okay, I don't even know if Kmart, but I got my first. There are people spend over $10,000 on their bicycles. They're going to pay for the valet.
Yes.
So, but what's really exciting is it's leveraging this quality of life issue that I was referring to. These millennials want. They want to bike in to work on the Beltline, come in through Ponce, work at Athena Health, or work with MailChimp. MailChimp is growing phenomenally. They're in Ponce City Market.
That's my company.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. They actually went to us with Brazil, and as a result, they were able, okay, Lane, I don't know if this is completely true, but as a result, they were able to make more connections and grow their business in Brazil.
Really?
Yep. So those are the type of things where we bring in companies for this phenomenal place. Now we have marketplace, it's connectivity to the Beltline. We are creating a quality of place.
Wow. Now, let me ask you this. I thought that was my last question, but you brought up something. For investors, commercial real estate investors, do you have properties that an investor can come in and redevelop? And if you do, what are some of the criteria and what are some of the abatements, if I may, that they can get for doing that?
Okay, so a lot of our programs are going to depend on exactly where they're at.
Okay.
So if you're in a certain area, we have these, they're called tax allocation districts. You don't need to remember that. Just remember we have 10 of these type of zones where we have certain kind of grants in that zone for you if you want to redevelop. If you're not in that zone, there are other tools that we possibly can have to help you redevelop. But there are opportunities always to redevelop. I think we have this unique opportunity now. We have 22-mile loop around the city that's the Beltline, that is in a tax allocation district. And we are really looking to how do we spur that connectivity to move people and things much more efficiently. As we do that, we increase our productivity. But it also supports our quality of life. Let's say you want to walk to work. Let's say you want to bike to work. You don't want to get in a car. I think it was Tino at the Technology Association of Georgia said that there was a survey done, and it was a group of young individuals, and they asked them, would you like for us, what would you pick? A brand new car or the most fabulous, exciting cell phone that did almost everything for you?
They picked the cell phone.
They picked the cell phone. Okay, when I was 16, I picked the car, but we didn't have the phones, right? But it's changing. And so they really, transportation is not what it used to be. They see transportation as a MARTA connection, Uber. They're going to do whatever they have to connect. Not necessarily get in a car. And so these type of infrastructure investments are really is going to attract and support our ability to bring more millennials, which is a cycle, right? I am attracting, I'm keeping my millennials, and guess who's coming? The big companies are coming, all size start, and then we pack the vertical and horizontal companies, and it's this cycle that we've really, the mayor's really been able to fuel. So
wow. So that sounds really interesting. So I am going to I'm going to conclude, but I want to
Okay.
thank you so much, Dr. Eloisa Clement.
My
Who's
pleasure.
here, CEO and president of Invest Atlanta. Reach out to that organization because they are doing some amazing things. And I'm going to talk a little bit off camera to her because I want to see how I can do some things around the world with what you guys are doing. I love what you're doing. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much for
My
taking the
pleasure.
time. I know you're busy, but I do appreciate you coming out here and spending this hour
My
with
pleasure.
us and, you know, giving us an insight on how we can do business with Atlanta and how people around the world can do business with Atlanta.
My pleasure.
Hey, next Thursday, check us out again. Talk Business with Audrey. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney. Until next time, make it a great day.